Shot VZ-2000. This did come in a sorry state. All the control knobs are missing of 3D printed replacements. The play Q cut button was stuck down, it's quite badly still scratched. The power button didn't work. The pause button didn't work. The cassette mechanism, but just totally, all of this had become detached. Basically the pins on the side are broken. This video is really about doing these sort of minor repairs really. It's not going to be a stripped down and replacement video. The deck was knocked out of a line. I had to re-straighten that. That does open now, cleaned it all out inside. And then to top it all off, nothing worked on it at all. Even when I got the power button, it was dead as a dodo. And that was fault finding down to a crack in the PCB on the main board. But there's also damage from in the post as well. Yeah, it was in a sorry state, but it's sort of 90% there now. There's certain things I can't really do. I mean, like scratch on that button there. I could probably get some paint, I suppose, and touch that up. But these are all working nice now. All of these are working nice. All the buttons on this, the tape player's fine. I've changed the belts in the tape player. I've changed the belts in the turntable. So I've cleaned all the fluff out to the speakers. So everything, I've full dismantle, full clean, full reassembly, and it's working on 100% now. These are some of the parts I had to replace. This was the door closed micro switch. Totally snapped, totally broke. Unfortunately I found all the bits to it, but I can't actually find one online. I found a 3 contact one, which will probably do the job to be honest, but at £25 I ain't spending that. I'll just replace it with one of these 17p micro switches, which will do the job fine. The connections on the cassette deck, these are the little pins either side of it. I've just replaced by turning down one of these. These generally come with PCs. It's on the COM port or the parallel printer port. Connections on the back of the cards. This is a slightly extended one. Some of them are quite short, so I was lucky to have a couple of these. I'll show you. I'll just basically turn that down in the lathe and made a new pin, basically and threaded the thing. The original sliders were broke, so I just 3D printed some new ones. Numerous other little bodges really, which I'll get into and I'll show you as we go along. Okay, I've stripped the unit down as much as I possibly can to aid with doing the testing on this. So I'm not sure whether these function switches are faulty. I've labelled them so I know what they do. I've got no output at all from the speakers. What I've done with the speakers, I've taken them out of the cases, just used the original wire to keep connected them there, both left and right. Keeps it simple. And so I don't have to keep flipping this thing over. I've taken the power supply board out, just held on with 4 screws, just so I can gain access to the power socket. The rest of the dismantling really is the turntable I've taken out, put to one side and just reconnected the leads. Now the biggest problem I've got now is I've got to get this off. And it looks quite simple to do. There's a screw just there. There's one down there. There's one down there. And one there. And one there. And once you've removed all the screws, don't just try yanking it up, because just down, yes, down there, I think it is, there's a clip. And as you can see there, there's a clip. And that, all you need to do that is pull the case slightly forward and that'll declip it, and then this whole module then will just lift off. If you are going to be working on the tuner section, I strongly recommend that you tape all of this section up. Set it to a point, say, I don't know, 1000 or something. Mark it off. Tape all this up. Tape the bottom cog up. And put a little bit of tape over here as well if you can. It's just a single screw there, single screw there. That'll lift this plate off then, and as You can actually take this plate off then. This is just held on by a push fit. Sorry, this is just held on by a push fit. And there's just a single loop there. Now if you've taped everything up down this end, you can just gently tug on the cord and just pull it to one side, and that will then give you access to everything. All the pots I'm going to have to spray and clean up. All of these had broken inserts in there, which I managed to get out with just a blade. I've 3D printed some replacements, and obviously we've got to change the belts on here and the turntable, because there's not actually one on the turntable at all. And the tracking belt there, that one is well worn. Don't even feel like rubber, feels like plastic. So yeah, that'll give us then access to the printed circuit board, where I can then start injecting a signal, tracing it through with the meter across these switches. But I just need to find out why I've got no sound output. Need to also disconnect the antenna, the FM antenna. It's just a simple port connection. Let's just simply lift them up and turn him over. And now we have access to the printed circuit boards. To test this out, I want to test these switches. So all we're going to need for it is a multimeter set to resistance. What we're going to do is trace this circuit through here. There is a 22k ohm resistor, so we're going to have to take that into account. But effectively I'm going to put that into the DIN plug, and I'm just going to measure through the switches, just to make sure the switches are working, because obviously if I'm getting no output somewhere along this point here onto the next part of the circuit diagram, nothing's coming through. But if I can measure all the way through to the main amplifier, which is done on this little bit of the circuit, so we'll be coming in here and tracing it all the way through, and then we can trace with the same continuity test up through the volume control knobs and then down onto the main amplifier circuit. And we can then establish whether this mixer amp or this tone amp is giving us any problems, and then from there on we can then trace it through to the main amplifier. But I think the main amplifier is working, because sort of like prodding around I discovered that, I think I've already showed you this, but just up here you've got left and right and ground, which is these are your two main amps. If you just touch these and introduce a little bit of mains hum and your speakers come to life, then you know the main amplifier section is working. Obviously if you've got some proper test equipment like a signal generator, oscilloscope, the rest of it, it would make life a lot easier to do all this, but I'm trying to do this more simply, so anybody who's basically all they've got is a voltmeter is they can trace this fault through. All the switching here is working fine. I was just probing around the board and I've just noticed just the PCB's cracked. So I'm going to get that soldered up. I'm going to just bridge it across with some link wires, and maybe that is what the fault is. Well, that seems to cure the problem. I've got it resoldered. It always helps if you've got a little bit of flux to put on the board as well. It seems to be working now. Next job is change the belts for both the turntable, which hasn't even got a belt. That one looks terrible. And the cassette belt isn't too bad, it does actually work, but I will change it. The cassette tray's broken, I've got no lugs either side of it, so I'm going to have to machine something up for that. Oh, there's lots of little bits that sort of just fell out of it. I don't know if anybody recognises that. There's another bit that fell out. One of the problems I've got with this VZ-2000 is my cassette tray. Both the lugs are broken off. Should be a 10mm by 4mm plastic lug sticking out either side. So what I found these off an old PC, which are like a hex, and I've just put it in my lathe and turned it down until it looks something a little bit like that. Shorten the thread on it. Then on these I've simply drilled a 2.5mm hole and run a 3mm M3 tap through it, and it now gives me the option to, with a little bit of super glue, is just screw these in. And I think that is one permanent repair that I don't think it's ever going to break again. The plastic case, it'll break long before anything else. Obviously, if you haven't got a lathe, you could just simply put it into an electric drill, get it rotated and drop a file onto it until you get it down to about the right diameter. But that's an option anyway. If you want to try and repair this, I've seen people glue them on, but I can't see it lasting long really. Just thought I'd show you another quick bodge. This is the door close switch, which broke. So I've replaced it with, I don't think you can get the original switches anymore, so I've just replaced it with a normal contact switch, which looks a little bit like that. What I've done is just bent the lever, as you can see there, into a slightly different shape. And I've just put the bottom screw in to hold it in place, put the top screw in so you can see the thread coming through, and then just covered it in hot melt glue, just stop it moving. Hopefully that should keep it in place. There's not much pressure on it, it's only the door closing pressure, so it's quite a sensitive marker switch, as you can hear there. So another bodge completed. Basically the reason I had to do that was I broke this switch when I was changing the belts, because I took it off and yanked on it, and it was easier, I think, just to, they're both SW501, 502 I think, both the same switch, so it was easier just to take the one off this side, put it onto that side and bodge the other side. It was far simpler bodge. So if anybody gets into that problem, it's another way around it. On the cassette tray, it's snapped off at this point, and again what I've done, I've drilled a hole about 2mm straight the way through, super glued it, put a little bit of a steel rod inside there with some super glue on to join the both pieces, and then I've seen a thing on the internet where it says with super glue add a little bit of baking soda and it sort of sets like a bit like a concrete. You can file it, and that seems to work really well. And I've had to do that the same for the switch. This switch, one of the lugs was broken, so I've done it on there. That piece there, I don't know if you can see that, just there, that one had broken off, so I've put a little bit on there as well. So yeah, this did take a little bit of a tumble, but we're slowly working through all the problems with it. It's got a few cracks in it, as you can see down here, which I'm just going to reinforce those, and we'll have to live with it as part of its character. But it's coming back together now. Just waiting on the belts. As soon as the belts come in, I'll get it all back together.